Hey folks, and welcome to this overview of Mip Map Maker. This is a bit more of an in-depth overview and is showing examples in a real-world project. So what I'm going to start with is I'm going to tone down this stone texture that we can see here. It's not the greatest texture, it's been selected as an example. It's got a little bit too much brown on one side and stone grey at the other, I guess. So it's creating this kind of tiling effect as we look into the distance, which isn't very nice. So we're going to tone that down. We're going to do it with an exaggerated, harsh style, so it's not going to look the greatest, but it's there just to show a very clear example of exactly what's going on. Okay, so first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to jump to the editor. I'm going to find the texture, which is this one. Zoom out a bit and scroll my mouse wheel here to zoom out. I'm going to jump to the next MIP level. I'm going to select my textures, and like I say, I'm selecting a fairly harsh one. So I'm going to put a pretty heavy blur on each MIP level. I could jump around with my keyboard to jump these MIP levels, but I thought it'd be best if I just use my mouse so you guys see exactly what I'm doing. And here we go, just going for the last ones. And when we're done, we need to update changes. So what I've done is I've blurred all the MIP maps apart from the very first one, which will be full detail. So now, the scene's not where I want it to be. So now if we look here, the textures are looking a little bit more blurred. And let me just get closer. So when we get close, we can see the texture still in full detail, but in the distance, as you can see over here, they are looking a little bit more blurred. We can ignore this effect for now. I'm going to talk about this in a minute. It's something called an ISO, but I'll go into that. I'll go to scene just to demonstrate it better. So we can see here, everything is more blurred and grayed out. So in the distance, we've reduced this effect a bit. Like I say, the texture is not the greatest. If we selected a texture with more grey and less of this brown, then we'd reduce this problem overall. But we can clearly see high detail here and blurring in the distance. And basically what this tool is doing is just giving you more control, letting you play with these effects so you can figure out what's going on and make it look nicer. To show an example of that, let's show the debug modes. So I'm going to tint the bitmaps, and they automatically have a default debug color assigned to them all. And I'm going to hit update to apply that. You can see here now we've got some different colors, so as the texture is drawn further and further away, we'll see which MIP map is being used. In our game, we can clearly see it. So as we get up close, we'll see full details. I should probably switch here. Full details, and the further away from the player the texture is, then we start seeing our MIP maps. And this can be pretty useful for quite a few reasons. So I'm going to zoom out to explain and show why. If you are editing MIP maps, an important thing to remember is to disable your fog. This blue here is actually my fog color. So I'm going to go to lighting and fog, and then we just see nothing else in the way, we just see our pure MIP maps. So I'm going to zoom out so we can see all the levels. One thing to note here, this one is black, this is a texture we edited. And what's happened is, basically it's been left with very little color to tint. So if we go out and have a look at the MIP map, we can see why it's black. It just is. So if we wanted, we can import and change this texture, or we can apply the tint again to make it more yellow, or applying yellow to black isn't going to work, which is why we have this problem in the first place. But yeah, so basically we can detect little problems like this, and we can also figure out what's going on here, which is the same as what we saw as that black line earlier. Basically what this is something called an ISO, and it's what happens when your textures are drawn at an angle, and what happens then is it selects a lower MIP map. So in this case we're selecting our yellow MIP map, which is the very last one, even though we're at the distance to display a purple one, which is the one before. This is normal, this is a good feature of Unity and it's right, but sometimes it causes problems. It's good to figure out when, and this mode can help you figure that out. So this is a setting here, and I'm going to turn it off completely so you see what it's doing. So instead of displaying these harsh MIP maps on the edges, it is softening them down. So we get a much more consistent use of our MIP maps and we're seeing less artifacts. I think the max setting is 13. And you can see it's toned down just a little bit, and it's helped get rid of some of these artifacts. This is a Unity feature, but like I say, the tool here, all it's doing is just helping you debug and play with this, so you can fix any problems that you need to play around with. And I've got to put my setting back. Another thing we can do is we can play with alpha. So let me get rid of this debug first, so we can see our original textures. So I've got rid of the tints. Gone back to the top level, and I'm going to hit recreate MIP maps. So it's just recreating all the MIP maps automatically from level 1 and discarding all changes. So you can see the changes are gone. In our scene, we just have standard bitmaps, which are looking pretty decent. And what I'm going to do here is apply some alpha with water, so it actually looks a bit nicer, but in a way that gives an interesting effect. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to my top level mip map, and I'm going to give my water a alpha of a half. And I'm going to go, I'm just zooming out a little bit here, and I'm going to go down to my next mip level. I'll give that a half as well. And what I'm now going to do is peter off the effect. And peter off fairly quickly so we can see exactly what it's doing. So again, it's going to be a fairly harsh effect. It's not going to look the nicest, but it's going to demonstrate what I'm trying to show here. So drag 5, and there'll be 1 alpha for the rest. Update changes. Okay, so what we can see here as we look closer, our water indeed has half alpha. We can slightly see the texture through it, and it does look nicer. But as we zoom out, we're going to have full alpha. So let's zoom in again. Actually, I'm going to, we can see the alpha gone on here. Yeah, I'm going to apply that again. That's just looking not quite obvious enough of a change. So I'm going to add another half alpha here, and another half here, and nothing for the rest of them. Okay, there we go. So now we can really see the alpha effect. So what we can see here now is we can see through the water nice and clearly, but in the distance we're losing that alpha effect. So what it looks like is that if you look in the distance, you can't actually see through the water, which is a little bit more realistic. And as you get closer to the water, then you can. So you zoom out, no transparency at all, can't see through, there's over water reflection. And as you get close, we can see through. Okay, so there's just a couple of features. Like I say, all the tool is here for is to give you control and to let you play around with things. Hope this was useful, and thanks for watching.